Today I'm packing the bearings on a 2024 Forest River Cherokee Wolfpack 27 pack 10. These are the tools I'm going to use off camera. I'm going to use the brake gauge. That'll let me put the drums on a bit easier. I've got this manual press, bearing press here that I can press the grease into. Got some bearing seals, grease seals. These are available on Amazon. I'll have the link in the description. Then I've got a grease seal puller and some channel locks. Here I've got an impact wrench and a 19 millimeter. You can use a 3/4 if you want. And then a brake spoon and some prime guard grease in the tub. We've got some brake clean, some rags, and some bearing grease in the tube as well. That's all I'll be using today on with video. For the video, I'm only going to show the right rear bearing repack, but as you can see, I already have the camper already jacked up safely on 4 jacks. So plenty of safety here. 19 millimeter socket on the impact. Quickly remove all of these lug nuts. And drop the wheel. Next up, we'll use a paint can opener to pull off the rubber seal covering the Easy Lube access. Next, I'm going to pull the cap. Some people reuse these caps. If it comes off without being damaged, I will reuse it. Others just replace it. Now I'm going to pull off, straighten out, and then remove the cotter key. Next up, the retaining nut. Next up, we'll remove the washer. Use a quick screwdriver here to pop that out, otherwise it'll go rolling across the floor once you pull the hub off. Next, when I remove the hub, I usually support the front of it because the front bearing will drop out into your hand most of the time. As you remove the hub, just gently pull it around the brakes. Should pull right off here unless the brakes are over adjusted. As you can see, the bearing did drop out into my hand. Next up, we want to take the front bearing out, give it a good inspection, see if there's any damage to the bearing, see if there's any discoloration on the inside race or the outside casing. Just want to clean it up. Now this is where a parts cleaner, especially a heated parts cleaner, would come in really handy. Otherwise, you end up doing what I'm doing, and it takes a while. Just keep at it until all remnants of any signs of grease are finally removed.
1 eternity later.
We're going to continue to spray with brake clean. Again, we don't want to see any bearing grease remaining anywhere in the assembly. Looks good. Back at the drum, we're going to clean up the old grease out of the front bearing area. Once we get that mostly cleaned up, we're going to flip the drum over, remove the grease seal, and then clean that side up as well as the bearing. Here's the bearing puller, bearing grease seal puller. Some folks use channel locks here. This is not a way to reuse the seal. This will destroy the seal when you pull it out. You can see where it's starting to come up there. There it is. So we're just going to get rid of that. Because we have new ones. Now we should be able to remove the inner bearing once we clean up some of that grease. And we're going to do the same with this inner bearing as we did with the outer. Just clean it up real good. Wash it off using our homemade parts washer. Also spray this down with brake clean, try to break up some of that grease that's in there. You can still see remnants of grease on the rollers. So we'll continue to spray the bearing. Still plenty of signs of grease left in the bearing. Gave it another wash, and now it's looking much better. All right, we'll let that dry. As you can see, there's no bearing grease left. No signs whatsoever. Good. Now that everything's dry, we can prepare to press the grease into the bearings. This tool makes it easy because you can actually see the grease coming through the bearings and ensure that every side of it has grease. First though, we want to get the hub completely cleaned up. As you can see, it's not, so we want to remove that grease out of there. And what we're looking at here is definitely the normal amount of grease that we want to have in there when we go to re-grease that hub. There is no need to put a bunch of grease in there and pack that full, just not even necessary. The grease that you put in there is not going to reach the bearings anyway. There's a few schools of thought on that. Don't hate me, but you don't need much grease in there. I know that's controversial, but let's just go with it. As you can see, even the manufacturer doesn't pack it full. That is a clean hub. So let's take this drum outside, use some brake clean on it, clean out the brake dust, and then we'll get a couple towels here to make sure we can wipe it down once we're finished. All right, getting all that brake dust out of there. I'm not going to spray too much inside the hub, so I don't want to wait for all that to dry out. Wipe it down quick, and that should do it. Back over here at the spindle, we're going to clean the spindle up real well. We're going to look for any signs of wear, any dark spots on the spindle, any bluing, any signs of heat, anything, ridges, scratches. Let's spray down the brakes real well here with some brake clean. Everything looks good. At this point, you might want to take the grease gun, since these are easy lube axles, and squeeze some grease through the easy lube port. Did that off camera. And then we're going to cover the spindle. And we're also going to give some attention there to the area where the grease seal is going to ride. That's about enough. Don't need a lot more than that. Back here at the hub, we're going to put just enough grease in here to cover the inside. I've got two different types of grease I'm working with here, so one is a little darker than the other, just different brands. That's about it. That's all you need. Back here at the press, you can see we've got it full of grease. This is makes it real quick. The palm method works. Just takes a lot longer than this. You'll see what I mean here. Everything looks good. Just a last minute inspection. All you need to do is drop that bearing in there, take the press, and then give it all you got. You'll start to see the grease come out here in just a moment. There, that bearing is fully greased. Now, I do like to work that grease around inside the bearing race. Make sure I cover the outside. Let me know in the comments below if you use that tool as well, or if you just use the palm method. Here we are back at the hub. Let's drop the bearing, inner bearing, right into the back of the hub here. And let's put it, just for good measure, a little bit more grease right around the outside of the bearing. At this point, all we need is a grease seal. Look what I found. And what I typically do is just add a little grease to the back of these grease seals. If anything, it just gives it a little bit more corrosion resistance. Not that you should get any corrosion there, especially if you're not packing the bearings on a trailer that's going to be submerged in the water. This camper should not be. And once we get that bearing in there, we're just going to dry fit that bearing, make sure it's going to fit well, and if it is, we're going to use a block of wood. Everybody's got a block of wood laying around. They make tools for this. Just want to knock that in there until it's completely level all the way around. And once you clean that up and you ensure that bearing grease seal is even with the backside of that drum, then you are good. Once we get it there, we'll flip it over here and do the front bearing. This is really just a repeated process here. We're just going to put the same amount of grease across the front. And then we're going to pack the bearing for the front using the same process we used for the rear. Press it down until the grease comes out the back side of the bearing. As you can see, it's pushed all the way through, all the way around the bearing. Just want to clean that up and then make sure that that grease goes all the way through the bearings themselves. But even still, that is fully packed bearing. Good to go here. And we're just going to drop that front bearing, outer bearing, into the brace. Everything looks good here. Once you get to that point, we're actually ready to reinstall the drum. So let's carry that back over to the trailer. Here we are at the camper. Everything's ready to go. I use that brake gauge to adjust those drum brakes just right so we can ensure that this will slide on, but yet they don't need it over adjusted later on. Just a small adjustment with that brake spoon. Next up, we'll put the washer on. Looks like that bearing completely seated in there as we pressed it on there. If you've got the same amount of threads you had roughly when you pulled it off, then you're looking good. Got the washer on, and we're just going to put the lock nut on. And what we're going to do here is tighten that lock nut down until that drum can't turn anymore. And before you say anything, we're going to back it off. All right, so that drum is turning very freely. So just want to make sure we got everything centered. And we'll keep turning it, keep tightening the lock nut until that drum cannot turn anymore. All right, that drum is mostly locked down. We don't want to over tighten it, just to the point where it's really hard to turn that drum. Now we're going to back that off. We know that then the bearing's seated and the drum is seated. Back it off in a turn and a half, and then we'll tighten it. Finger tight. That's the goal here. Just want to back it off a turn and a half, tighten it down, finger tight. At that point, you should have it lined up with the cotter keyhole. Always want to replace these cotter pins. They're cheap enough. As you can see, this cover, this grease dust cover came off without any damage to it. Now I do, just as a rule of thumb here, once I get the Easy Lube cover put back on, I'll just spread a thin layer of grease around the inside of it. This is not required. Again, I'm back when I had watercraft trailer, this is what you do. In case you didn't get any water in there, you didn't want that setting up. Gently reapply, and once you do that, this wheel is ready to put on. Once that wheel is put on, then let's put the lug nuts on. And then once you do that, tighten them down, but just snug them. Take your block, keeps the wheel from turning, and your torque wrench. Some of these are rated at 120, some are rated at 100 foot-pounds. So check your manufacturer specs. Using my 19 millimeter instead of my 3/4, just fits more snug. So double check your specs here, but I'm gonna put these in at 120. Go around all 5. All right, well, that will about do it for the video. If this helps you out, please say so in the comments, or like, or heck, even subscribe. Thanks.